Okay, so now we're on to our second row. Our pattern calls for an increase in each stitch. So we've got a total of 5 stitches right here, so we're going to be doing 10 altogether. Now this first stitch is going to be the biggest pain of pretty much the whole project. And that's because it's really quite tight. It's the first stitch that we did, and so it's very tight. And so chances are you're having a hard time even seeing where the V is, where the front loop and the back loop are, because it's so wadded up. So what I usually do is I'll take a yarn needle, and you've got a few of these in your kit, and I'll just kind of pull that front loop and back loop up and just make open up the hole there for the hook a little bit, because these are a little bit easier to get in than the hooks, because they're a bit less rounded and less thick, so they're a little bit easier to get in there. So alright, so there's that single crochet stitch that we need to go through, front loop and back loop together. We want to make sure that the tail, this tail here, is under, not like kind of stuck in between where we're going to be going. We want it sort of tucked under our work for now. So we're going to put the hook through that little hole that we just kind of poked, the little pathway that we just made, and just kind of squeeze it in there. So now we're in the first single crochet stitch that we did in our chain, and we're going to yarn over and pull it through that hole, yarn over, pull through both. So we've just done a single crochet stitch in the first stitch from the last row. Now because we're doing an increase in each stitch, we need to do 2 in every single one. So we're going to go back into that same one and add another single crochet. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and then pull through both. And then the next stitch is right here. You see that V there, it's a little bit tight, but you can just get in there a lot easier than the first one. So this is our second stitch, and we're doing our third single crochet of this row. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That's the third single crochet. Now we're doing the fourth one, because of course there's 2 in every stitch. Okay, now we're moving on to the next one. We're doing our 5th single crochet. And our 6th, again in that same stitch, because we're doing 2 in every one. Now we're going into the next stitch, which is right here, and it's starting to get a little bit less tight so you can see it a little bit better. And we're doing our 7th single crochet. And back into that same stitch for the 8th single crochet of our row. And then this is the last stitch for this row, the last increase, and we're doing our 9th single crochet for the row and our 10th. So that's row number 2 finished. And what we probably want to do now is put in a stitch marker. And what this will do is this will make it easier to keep track, because when you have small numbers like you know, 10, it's easy to keep track of it, but once you start getting into the bigger numbers, it can get a bit trickier. And the other thing that we're going to do is, actually, I'll show that now. You see this hole here? This is the finished, this is the right side of the work. This is the wrong side. And the way you can tell is the tail's on the wrong side, and so is all the lumps. The right side is smooth and pretty, but it looks like it has a little puckered cat butthole or something. Okay, now if the tail is pushed aside, when the stuffing goes in, you'll see white under there. So all we do is we take the tail and we just tie it in a knot, and it makes this big ugly wad, but what that wad does is it covers up our hole very nicely. So now we just have the puckered cat butt. It's not, you can't see the, you won't be able to see the stuffing when you stuff it. And then stitch marker, little piece of yarn. You can use your little plastic ones if you want, if you like those better. That's up to you. I find them a little bit bulky when I'm working. I like to use them more as a stitch holder. So you want to just go in last stitch that you did and hook that and pull it through. And it'll just remind you that this was your last row that you did.